Hello, folks. I am Alan for today's news. I will be reading and speaking about world news, interesting news, and news to keep you entertained, and news to keep you informed. What I got for you first are from 1945. It said China must pay for COVID-19, lab leak or not. That making China pay for COVID-19 coronavirus can be artificially manipulated and an emerging human disease virus, then weaponized and unleashed in a way never seen before. This was the conclusion of a 2015 People's Liberation Army Air Force, known as the PLAAF, document entitled "The Unnatural Conclusion, the Unnatural Origin of SARS and New Species of Man-Made Viruses as Genetic Bioweapons." The document was written by a group of top-level PLAAF medical researchers, according to Robert Potter, an Australian cyber warfare specialist and an expert in determining a leak. China documents are fake. He insists that the documents are genuine. Since they're clearly someone high up in Beijing was thinking about weaponized coronavirus. This 5 years before the COVID-19 pandemic erupted from China and shattered the world as we know it. According to the researchers in that 2015 document, the goal of weaponizing coronavirus would not be to annihilate a target country population. A weaponized coronavirus could do that instead. It would be an attack directly on the country's medical system and its economy. The purpose of such an attack will be to sow chaos and confusion in a target country's society. In turn, the chaos will serve as a distraction and give China the opportunity to enhance itself at the expense of the targeted country, in this case, the United States. While the coronavirus 19 pandemic did not collapse the U.S. medical system, it did damage the economy, disrupted the order here, the change and change the destiny of the United States possibly forever. We are still today dealing with the knock-on effects of COVID-19 and the decisions that were made then to combat the supposedly all-natural disease from Wuhan, China. What's more, the weaponized virus had unintended effects on China itself, although China seems to have weathered that particular storm better than any other of us would have thought it could. So much so that today we fear China could invade neighboring Taiwan. In the early 2020, I was asked to speak to elements of the United States Air Force Special Operations Group about Chinese biotechnology investment and development. I had long covered China's biotech best and have many contracts in that industry. They thought I could provide some insight into the novel coronavirus that they might have been lacking. I shared with them my research and my belief that COVID-19 came from a lab. The audience looked uncomfortable. Shortly thereafter, I received a complaint from a colonel at the base where I spoke for misinformation. Increasingly, a year later, I was speaking to elements at another military factory in California and was approached by a major in the United States Air Force who was aware of my writings and thoughts of this matter, and he confirmed that many, if not most, people in the intelligence community were convinced that COVID-19 came from a lab. In fact, that year was the same year that the otherwise skeptical Biden administration apparently dropped its skepticism on the lab leak theory and ordered the Intelligence Committee to reopen its investigation on the origin of COVID-19. And you can read the rest of this. The description will be in my description box. Trump told you, I told you, it did come from a lab. Let me see if I can open this document up here. Yeah, I'll have this one in there too. A document written by Chinese scientists and health officials before the pandemic in 2015 states that SARS coronavirus were a new era of degenerate weapons that could be artificially made into an emerging human disease virus. Yeah, I'm gonna have this in my article also for you. So if you want to read on it, and there's another one from ABC News. Trying not to make the newscast too long. North Korea launches 2 cruise missiles from submarine. North Korea claimed to have launched 2 cruise missiles from a submarine into the East Sea, also known as the Sea of Japan, on Sunday, but the South Korean military said they detected one unidentified missile fired from North Korea's submarine vessel near North Port City of Sinpo. The missile test took place about 24 hours before the U.S. and South Korea's joint forces started their annual 11-day military exercise planned to the biggest war games in 5 years. The launches also came alongside historic security partnerships to strengthen military capabilities to counter China's attempts to dominate in the Pacific. A pact allowing allies to share defense technology and equip Australian forces with nuclear power submarines. And you can read the rest of this in my description box. And here one I got for you here. Let's see. It says here from ABC News, you heard about the Silicon Valley Bank collapse. And what does it mean for you? It says the largest bank failure since the 2008 crisis has triggered a major U.S. government intervention to protect the financial system. Silicon Valley Bank, the nation's 16th largest bank, collapsed on Friday, forcing a government takeover and calling into question the fate of almost $175 billion in customer deposits. On Sunday, Signature Bank, the 29th largest bank in the U.S., closed its doors, suggesting the financial panic has spread. Many bank stocks plummeted in early trading on Monday. First Republic Bank dropped 65% before trading was halted. Western Alliance Bank Corp fell almost 60%. Charles Schwab, the 8th largest U.S. bank, dropped nearly 10%. And you can read the rest of this in my description box if you rather. And here's something here. It said here, customer queue outside First Republic Bank after Silicon Valley Bank collapse. And I was expecting this, See all those people lining up there at that bank? Let's see, get a bigger screen here. All the people lining up, bank rush. That's what's going to hurt everybody. People trying to draw all the money out of the banks. And I got here 15 largest bank. J.P. Morgan Chase the first, Bank of America the second, Citicorp the third, Wells Fargo the fourth, U.S. Bank Corp the fifth, PNC Financial Services the sixth, Trusted Bank the seventh, Goldman Sachs the eighth, Capital One Financial 9, TD Corp U.S. Holdings 10, Bank of New York Mellon 11, State Street Bank is 12, Citizens Financial 13, First Republic Bank 14, That's the one that had that run. Morgan Stanley Private Bank is 15. And you can read the rest of this if you like. It tells you more information about each of these banks there. Here's something from Yahoo Finance. IRS tax audits target and burden lower income families, says tax expert. So they're not going after the wealthy. IRS is going out after the poor. Like they say, the government entities don't make sense. They don't know what they're doing. Says here, the underfunded Internal Revenue Service has been reliant on ancient technology to generate paper audits that target tax benefits, such as the Earned Income Tax Credit for lower income households. Well, I don't have to worry about that because I don't get the Earned Income Tax Credit. The result, financially, vulnerable families are burdened with never-ending notices of refund delays. I got my state a long time ago. Never got my federal though. Families with low incomes are relatively easy and inexpensive to audit compared to more wealthy individual corporations. So they're going after the low-income poor people because they're easy to get money from them than the rich people, because the rich people fight back with big lawyers. Associate Director of Policy for Prosperity Now, a national nonprofit driving change towards racial economic equality, told to Yahoo Finance, I can imagine a huge and a very scary burden for low-income families to get these notices from the IRS and go through the process. It says here, Jan Lewis, a CPA and chair for the Tax Executive Committee at American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, added, the IRS computer systems say you didn't respond to your notice, so they send you a second notice because they think you are now avoiding them. It can go so far as to send a notice of intent to levy when you're already responded. Nearly 50% of the IRS total audits went to families making less than $25,000 and claiming the Earned Income Tax Credit, or EITC, according to the Syracuse University Transactional Records Assess Clearinghouse, known as TRAC. The burden of the IRS audit falls on lower income families, with households making less than $25,000 facing the largest audit scrutiny among other income ranges in 2022, according to the data released from TRAC. Yeah, IRS probably saying, let's pick on the poor people. They can't fight back. They don't have money. Dumb IRS. Said dragged out audits can hurt lower income households because many depend on tax refunds to pay bills. Although the IRS recently released a new website portal to help fix issues faster with families, must amend returns during an audit, which can take up to another 16 weeks to process. Lewis, for example, is helping a young family claim the child tax credit, and she can see the impact. They have 2 kids under the age of 4. They are working. They are trying to do their best, and it's a real hardship, the CPA said. I've been waiting for that refund since April of 2022. We're in February of 2023, and we can't even tell them when they're going to get their refund. So I might get my refund next year for this year. Can I penalize IRS for that? I got to check on that. But that's not all. Lewis says some taxpayers are so afraid of the IRS that they just pay the agency even if they're in the right. They are scared the IRS is going to come get them, so they pay the balance when they really shouldn't, Lewis says. It says here more than 97% of lower income families who got audited in 2022 received the audit by mail. This is because the tax agency replaced many of its face-to-face audits with letter audits as a cost-cutting measure. The way the IRS audits the family is mechanical, whereas the higher income family, when they're being audited, they may have lawyers involved. Annan said, Ian, whatever their name is, you must you need to spend the money on the higher income audits than the lower income audits. Anyway, you can read the rest of this by description box. It's kind of pissing me off about the IRS. Okay, here's something from the NBC News. It might be longer than news thing. You can skip ahead to whatever you're interested in on this news if you want at the time you're watching it. It says nurses hit with hefty debt when trying to leave hospitals. Where is this from? NBC News, yeah. This is out of Washington. When Jackie Rum quit her nursing job at Los Robes Regional Medical Center last fall over the heavy workload and low staffing levels, it came with a high price, a $2,000 bill from her former employee for training costs. The payment was related to a contract Rum was required to sign when she took the job at the Thousand Oak, California hospital owned by HCA Healthcare, the nation's largest for-profit hospital chain. Under the agreement, which is standard for entry-level nurses working at HCA hospitals and becoming increasingly standard for other health systems, Rum agreed to pay back the hospital for training if she quit or get fired before her 2 years contract expired. Now, that don't sound legal to me. It may be, but it doesn't sound legal to me. Well, if you're fired, it's not your fault, and you got to pay them all that money back. I wouldn't do the job. I wouldn't sign a contract with the company like that. Despite the agreement, Rum says she quit after 13 months because of the physical and mental strain, citing staffing that was so thin she was often unable to take even a 30-minute break during her 12-hour shift. As a result of leaving, she has received 7 letters since October from a collection agency working for HCA demanding payment for the remaining $2,000 in training costs the hospital says she owes, and threatening to charge her interest and legal fees. Anyway, I think her total bill was $4,000, but by the time 13 months after she quit, it went down to $2,000. But anyway, this is not right. This is not right. You can read the rest of this in my description box. Okay, this from Reuters. Hundreds of migrants tried to force their way into U.S.-Mexico border. U.S. officials stopped hundreds of mostly, how you say that name, I can't say that, migrants entering the country from Mexico on Sunday after a large group broke through Mexican lines to demand asylum in the U.S., only to be thwarted by barbed wire barriers and shields. Here's a video. Look at that, it got stopped by the barbed wire.
Please, we want an answer. The Customs and Border Protection 1 app doesn't work. I'm alone. We're alone here. We've been robbed and extorted, and we have no answers. We just want to get in, to have a future, and help our families. Nothing else.
Anyway, now that brings me to my next story here. Border Patrol staffer questioned whether Arizona rancher was crazy when calling about alleged drug traffickers. Well, you know they come from Mexico. You know they're coming across the borders. Is the border patrol staffers heard in a call questioning whether Arizona rancher George Allen Kelly is crazy before responding to his claims of alleged armed drug traffickers on his property. Fox News Digital recently obtained several recordings of calls between Border Patrol and Kelly with the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office on January 30. That evening, the body of a man identified as 48-year-old Mexican national Gabriel Quin's, he said his name was, found on Kelly's ranch outside Nagos, Arizona. Kelly was arrested for first-degree murder, but the charge has since been downgraded to second-degree murder. The Santa Cruz County Attorney's Office, in releasing the calls ranging about 30 seconds to 8 minutes in length, stressed Kelly never dialed 911. The recordings are relays and contacts initiated by dispatch. In one call, someone from the Nagos Border Patrol station tells dispatch, my agents made contact with the caller's spouse, who stated that there were 5 on the property, and the caller is currently trying to persuade them and is chasing them south. The 5 had a large backpack and possibly a rifle. And you can read the rest of this in my description box if you like. And he has a right to protect his property, you know, from the migrants. Bite them, let them in, and we're going to get rid of them. That's what I say. I got cameras around my place, you know. I keep weapons. And anyway, you can read the rest of that in my description box. From USA Today, Biden approves massive oil project in Alaska, moves to bar future drilling in Arctic Ocean. Biden administration on Monday approved the Willow Oil Project, clearing the way for one of the largest new oil and gas development on federal land in Alaska in 20 years, despite the fierce opposition and environmental activists. Did I see Biden cough there? Yeah. The old man's sick. The move came as Biden also. You notice they're not calling him president anymore in these things, don't you? The move came as Biden also signaled sweeping future action to bar offshore drilling. Anyway, you can read the rest of this. This is all going to read to you for now. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe. If you don't subscribe, just come back once in a while and watch. That's what I ask. And until next time, thanks for watching. See ya.